Hello, my name is Richard Miller, and I'm going to be leading you through this masterclass on preparing your post-retrofit strategy. The post-retrofit phase can seem a long way away during the initial stages of your retrofit program, but in successful projects, many activities continue long after the physical works finish. So it's important to think about them from the outset. This masterclass will cover the handover process at the end of the physical installation, monitoring performance in use, any necessary change and adaptation to repairs and maintenance schedules, and then learning from your experiences for future projects. This is not the only project you will do. You will be involved in many projects as you progressively upgrade your entire housing stock. This is the life cycle of a retrofit project taken from our Retrofit Project Overview Toolkit. We're going to focus on the completion of delivery and the post-retrofit phase. Now you've planned your project, you want to get stuck in, you want to get on with it, you want to start doing things. And the tendency is for you to get your head down and focus, ignoring everything else. And then the completion of the physical installation comes quickly, and you find you run out of road. You just hit the buffers at the end of the track. You need a plan. So this session is about getting your ducks in a row. The first thing to talk about is the handover process. What happens when the retrofit installations have been completed? How do you hand that over to the residents, other contractors, other members of your team? Hopefully you've been engaging with all these stakeholders throughout the project. And now the physical installation is complete, you still need to engage. So don't stop talking. Some of the success factors. Have a plan in advance so you're not taken unawares. Hand over during the heating season if possible. If you're handing over outside the heating season, the residents and users may have forgotten what you told them when the heating season starts. And if there are any changes to what they need to do and how they need to operate the house, they can become confused. So hand over during the heating season if possible. Make sure you visit residents in their home. Don't bring them into large meetings or into your offices. Take time to visit them in their home, show them the changes you've made. Take your time. Don't hurry this part of the process. And provide written information as a follow-up. So you show them, you explain it to them, and then you leave them with the written information. Tailor the communication to your individual residents, particularly those with additional or special needs. And you can work with trusted intermediaries to help the process flow. It's a good idea to follow up with the residents 3 months after the handover, just to check that everything is still working okay and they're happy and there are no problems. You also need to remember that these may not be the final residents in the property. There can be future residents coming in from unupgraded properties. They need handover information as well, because there may be parts of the system which are unexpected. So some key steps. Provide tailored energy advice to residents according to PAS 2035. It lays out what you should be doing. Show the residents the change in their EPC rating and SAP rating after the retrofit works have been completed. Show them what has changed. Provide resident-friendly, clear guidance on all new retrofit measures installed. Is there anything they need to know about how the house will work in the future? Things they need to be aware of, things they should do, things they shouldn't do. Provide information to internal teams and any repairs and maintenance contractors. They may not be aware of the changes either. So you need to make sure that they understand what has been done to the property. And it's a good idea to conduct an aftercare walkthrough, checking that everything is working okay, things are still functioning correctly, you're getting the results you expected. A good tool is the soft landings framework. This was not developed specifically for domestic retrofits, but it is a very good process for making sure that the correct information is supplied, proper performance of the upgrades are checked, any new technologies are known to be working. So it's a useful tool. You must make sure that the residents have been properly informed and understand how to use any new technology. It's not a good idea to leave it to the installers and assume that the correct information has been passed across. Turning on to monitoring and evaluation. Why would we need to do this? Well, here are 3 reasons. It's a fundamental part of PAS 2035. You need to know that you've delivered the results that are expected. If you're getting any public funding, then the funders are going to be requiring you to comply with PAS 2035, and that means carrying out the monitoring and evaluation. But perhaps more important than that is this enables you to learn from the project and build your capability. So what do you need to do? Under PAS 2035, you should record the design intent of the project. Gather baseline data. How was it working before the upgrades? Make sure any sensors that are required are included in the design and installation. It can be much harder to go back and retrofit sensors into a retrofit project. And within PAS 2035, there are 3 levels of monitoring and evaluation. The basic evaluation should be done for all projects, and that's just simple qualitative and quantitative data. If there is a gap in performance and delivery, you extend that to intermediate monitoring and evaluation, which goes into more depths. And if there are still unresolved issues, then you extend it to advanced monitoring and evaluation. And then, of course, you report and disseminate findings, which may be hugely important to the next retrofits that you're going to do, to the next property, to the next installation. So what is required for basic monitoring and evaluation? There's qualitative data, health and well-being surveys, resident satisfaction. There is also quantitative data, so energy bills, temperature and humidity measurements, air quality, and so on. Now, you may not have installed sensors to be monitoring those quantitative features automatically, but you can, at least during visits, use handheld monitors to get an idea of what the air quality is like, what the humidity is in different rooms, what the temperatures are like. And that will give you some sense of how it is performing. And if this is working as expected, you need to do no more. But if there are problems, then you go into more detailed analysis. And there is a monitoring and evaluation toolkit that will help you to understand what needs to be done and to plan that into your process. And that's available from the website. New technologies mean new maintenance processes and schedules for your team and for the residents. The property may operate in a very different way if you have a different kind of heating system. A heat pump is not a gas boiler, and neither is a district heating scheme. You may have mechanical ventilation with heat recovery installed. That can be part of the changes you need to allow for. So you need to make sure that your maintenance teams understand what changes have been made to the property, and you also need to make sure that the residents understand what is going to be happening. So think about maintenance from the start. How will the requirements on the organization change? Build knowledge and skills within the organization. New technology needs new skills. How will you acquire them? Is it training? Is it outsourcing? Is it recruitment? And some key steps. plan for the maintenance changes and develop the capacity. And then check if you're using contractors, outside sources, are your maintenance contracts appropriate for the changes to the properties? Do they need to be revisited? And then set out clear expectations for the residents. What is going to be the same? What is going to be different? What is their contact number if they're in an upgraded property? Because if they have a problem in an upgraded property, you may wish to send them through a different route through repairs and maintenance. So make sure they're clear on what is happening and how they need to deal with any issues. And you want to learn from projects to get better, faster, and more effective with each iteration. It also helps when you bring new people into the team. You will be upgrading properties for many years. It's not likely you'll have the same team throughout that period. So when you're onboarding new team members, what can you tell them about what the organization has learned so far about the best way to do these kinds of projects? So learning is very important. And this is a model from BP about how you learn in projects. You can apply it to the whole project, but also to every key task. There are some notes you can download from my website that go into a bit more detail, and the link is there. So it's learning before the project starts, the peer assist, learning during the project, the after action review, and learning after, the project retrospect. Now the peer assist comes before the project starts, so we won't go into that, but if you are interested, details are in the link. The after action review was developed by the US Army to make learning immediate, not left to the end of an exercise or a battle when everyone has forgotten what actually happened. It's done in 15 minutes or less. 5 minutes is good. As soon as the meeting is over, the milestone is met, whatever. And you do this at each step in the project. It's short, sharp, and focused on what needs to change. How do you do it? It's very simple. A flip chart divided into 4. These questions: what did we set out to do? What actually happened? Was there a difference and why? And what would we do differently next time? These are the key questions, and you're looking for the immediate front-of-mind response while it's fresh in everybody's mind. And there are some rules. No blame, no finger pointing, egos left at the door, everyone has a voice, and everyone will be listened to. So it's a process which is fast, integrated into the project, real-time, immediate, and actionable. And finally, you reach the project retrospect, which is summarizing the whole activity. Essentially, it's a bigger after-action review. What were the objectives? What did we actually deliver? What went well and why? What did not go quite so well and why? And critically, what messages would we pass on to the next team to try something like this? It's a deeper look than an individual after-action review, but it's still not a huge piece of work. Maybe half a day maximum, a couple of hours, and maybe 6 sides of paper. It's a very different process to the typical lessons learned report, which are often done long after the project is finished and the team is dispersed, which nobody is wildly excited about, and which is too long and complex to be of much use to anybody else. In this process, we're focusing on picking out the key points, the most important advice to give to other people. It's your message to the future, either your future self or somebody else tackling a similar project. And the format can be anything you like. How do people share expertise in your organization today? What are the common methods? Could be a short document or paper, or it could be in the computer. It could be a series of frequently asked questions that build up over time. anything that will work for your organization, your suppliers, and contractors. And you need to keep it light touch. If it's a burden, it won't get done, it won't be used. So it's really focusing on the key messages to get across and doing it as simply as possible. One of my favorites are checklists. They're simple and effective. They make sure you don't forget something critical under pressure. So in medicine, the surgical team will check they have the right patient. They've got the right leg. They have the right operation planned. All of that before the scalpel goes in for the first cut. Astronauts, pilots, all kinds of people use checklists to make sure they simply don't forget things. And it's extremely simple and extremely useful. Something else you can do if you have more of a verbal culture is to gather war stories from participants. Prop them up with a cup of coffee and interview them. What went well for you? What was surprising? What's the key message you would give to the next person following you? What were you not expecting? What worked well? What worked not so well? People are very happy to give that information just directly in speech, very easily. You can either write it down or you can video them as a talking head. That's another popular way of doing it. And if that works for your organization, you could end up with a little collection of talking head videos on your corporate intranet, which is helping people understand some of the key messages and key lessons from projects you've worked on to date. So thank you very much. That's a quick run through some of the key ideas in getting ready for the post-retrofit phase. You can find more information on a lot of these topics on the socialhousingretrofit.org.uk website under the headings of the webinars, toolkits, key guidance. Thank you very much.